closer to another MLS game day for the Philadelphia Union. And welcome into PHLY Union. We've got our usual JP Zapata, myself, Renee Washington, and a very special guest to help us preview the matchup, AJ, the man, the myth, the legend, who works with ATL, Atlanta United Fan TV at ATL United Fan TV. Nice to have you here. Pleasure to be able to chat with you about this matchup, because what better person to be able to share insight as to what's going on with Atlanta United right now than someone like yourself that covers the team and works with them very closely week in and week out. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. All right. Now, every week on PHY Union podcast, we've been previewing the matchups, bringing in different sports reporters from around the league that have been able to help us weigh in. Looking at this one straight up, let's start with the basics because, I'm excited to see this matchup. It's a great Eastern Conference duel. Two teams, obviously the Union coming off of their third straight victory, and then for Atlanta United, right in the thick of things, sitting in a really good spot in standings right now, coming into this weekend's game, a nice early Sunday afternoon, which we are all appreciative of. What is the status of Atlanta United? I know there's been injuries, there's been a lot going on, but you guys, you've been seeing it as you've been following the team, still sitting right there in the mix. What's going on down there in Atlanta?
Well, we're severely banged up in terms of very key players right up and down our spine. And and Thiago Almada still hasn't fully shown up in terms of being the player that he was last year and the year before that. So numbers wise, it's a little dampened, but striker core, we're at our third choice striker right now, and that's not good, boding this very big matchup where you guys are on a really, really hot streak of form, so, and undefeated, right, still. So it reads for tough goings for the proceedings.
Absolutely, AJ. It's good catching up with you, brother. I love
Always.
talking Union and Atlanta with you, man. But so Giakoumakis is also hurt as well.
Yeah, so he's day to day, but he missed the last match, and yeah, it is huge because he's basically our talisman this season. Like if we don't score, it's usually because he didn't score, and so it's not exactly a good reading, but of that, but it is we were able to kind of get a little bit of a salvaging of a point on the road versus NYCFC, but I think ultimately at home we need all our firepower, and especially when you guys are just killing it. I mean, you guys look really, really good, but I wonder really how truly good you guys feel you guys are playing, because is it fool's gold or is it actually warranted?
Ironically, that's what JP and I talked about on the show, AJ, is we're not even fully sure, what is the true identity of the Philadelphia Union. It is still early in the season, obviously, for every team. Everybody's dealing with injuries. Everybody's dealing with the load of whether it's just the early season hurdle or even dealing with CONCACAF Champions Cup games. So, we haven't really even had a chance to see consistently week after week. And it does, in my opinion, feel like this is the first stretch we're finally seeing, for the most part, the majority of the team healthy. Obviously, Andre Blake was unable to play last week, but I think out of concern than anything, just because he did take a knock that had him in some questionable concussion protocol. So more just to err on the side of caution to put in the backup keeper in Oliver Zemla. But overall, the team has been healthiest, knock on wood, right now. And it seems like really coming together. And I think that's also why, as you look game by game, this matchup is an interesting one, because you've got the Union, who, as you mentioned, are undefeated, the last remaining undefeated team across the league, coming off of their third straight win, a comeback win at that against Nashville. But Nashville's kind of bottom of the standings. Again, still early in the season, so we're still figuring out who even is the top and the bottom of the conference. But a team like Atlanta, coming off of that draw against NYCFC, injury bitten, it's another game that I feel like it's two teams you really just don't know what to expect, because week by week it's been something completely different. So in my opinion, to answer your question, I don't even know either. We've been optimistic. We've been trying to be our positive Patty, positive Patrick over here. But to be honest, we're not even sure the true identity of the Philadelphia Union. We just know what we see, and right now is that they are at least undefeated going into this Sunday's matchup.
Yeah, like as Renee said, like they're listen, we know the Union. I mean, AJ, this is pretty much the same team for like the last 3 years. It's kind of been the joke that we've been talking about on the pod as well. But like, this is who they are. Like, they're going to be, at the end of the day, they're going to be one of the top teams in the East. That's never been the question mark. The question mark is when when you're on the line here of winning a major trophy, whether it was Champions Cup, which obviously now we got bounced out of, or an MLS Cup. Who's going to step up, and do you have enough for what it takes to take it all the way and win the big trophy? You guys have that. At least, like, you guys got that back in 2018. We're still trying to win that, and you've seen it. We've had really, really good success over these past couple of years, but like no major hardware like a CONCACAF Champions Cup or an MLS Cup to hoist. So that, like, this team is still going to be one of the elite teams at the season's end, but can they win the big trophy? That's a big question mark, AJ.
Right, and that's always been the big question, right? Jim Curtin has been a stalwart as your head coach, but I'm sure there are some not players, but fans that are very much seeing that he probably is on his last legs and on patience, maybe. And that's
good point.
It might be something that, it's like, is he the coach for the future, or is he only the coach for the now? I think it's fascinating in terms of probably the arguments that fans are no doubt probably having with each other.
Well, AJ, it doesn't help that, your Padawan learner and Pat Noonan is getting, money dished around in Cincinnati. Look what's going on over there. Like, you can't like that. Oh,
for sure. Yeah. Exactly. And then, it's not happening for the Philly Union. And it's like that, it is one of those things where you see this club that has a lot of pieces, a lot of good players, but, at the end of the day, they're judged by the trophies that they win, and it's tough. It's tough reading on that too, because it's like you guys are so close, so close against LAFC, and it's just that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to at this point of the season is teams are trying to figure out what their identity is. Do you want to just be the team that's the king of the almosts and getting close and falling short every single time, or do you want to be the team that's able to continue to make progress and improve? And I know for the Philadelphia Union, that has been the question of how and why does it make sense to run it back with the same unit when they've fallen short so many times? And it is frustrating. But you're also seeing on the reverse, something that we've tried to talk about and spin as a positive is there is that consistency. They have the foundation of who they are. They've been able to bring in some young spark plugs, so to speak, that have been able to add a little extra, just hunger and growing and making themselves a piece of this team that can be reliable as that more role player, consistent piece. You're seeing some young talent, even in like a Quinn Sullivan, a Jack McGlynn, a Nate Harriel, that have really been rising in the ranks to be everyday starters that are contributing in goals or helping to get shutouts or at least get good stops. So that's where the Philadelphia Union are sitting right now. But for Atlanta, as you talk about with those injuries, Thiago and Jamal, Giacomakis dealing with an injury day to day. Who's next for Atlanta United? Because I feel like we've complained a lot about depth for the Union, but now that depth doesn't seem so bad when you don't have to worry. You have Julian Carranza, Daniel Gazdag out there in the attack. You have Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott on the back line, anchor with Damian Lowe. What about Atlanta? Who's really someone to keep an eye on that we can say for sure is definitely going to be playing, because there's some question marks that will be a threat to keep an eye on in this one.
Right. So, Thiago Almada is playing I think fingers crossed and knock on wood that he doesn't get injured from now to, match day. But, Saba Lapsanice, our right winger, definitely is a guy that's, almost pretty much our like fourth DP in that sense, because he was previously one. And he's like a man possessed right now. He got spurned for the Georgia national team, and essentially he is playing like his hair's on fire. And so definitely a player that's you guys should watch out for there. In terms of kind of holding down the fort in midfield, new signing Bartosz Slisz is definitely a guy who's been able to break up a lot of play, really shield the defense and really do what we need to do that we were lacking in previous years in our really soft underbelly of that midfield. So definitely another player there. Also, Brad Guzan is having a resurgent year, and yeah, he's saving a lot more than he did last year. It was pretty dire last year, but this season he even has an assist, so he's definitely getting in that that kind of the aging like fine wine. He is definitely like it's Napa Valley type stuff right there. So.
I love that. I love that. You know what, AJ? Like I had the intentions heading into this match to talk about. Listen, that attack that you guys built, Giakoumakis, Silva, Almada, and Lobo. Like it's pretty dangerous. But obviously, you're going to miss the pieces here. But what I really was wondering was, I always said if Atlanta can figure out the defense, especially that back line. And yeah, it's good to see Brad Guzan having a little bit of resurgence. But if you guys can fix that, you guys would be a really tough team because you'd be the most complete team in the league, I felt like. So how's the defense shaped here this year? Any differences? What's it looking like?
Well, so therein lies the problem right now. Is DP defender Stian Gregerson, he is out injured. He's probably got maybe 1 or 2 more weeks. And then so Noah Cobb, he's been deputizing. He's been decent, but on the ball, he's not a Stian Gregerson, even though it's a small sample size of the early season of those returns, because we don't really even know Gregerson from anybody else so far. He's played 2 games. So, but in terms of that as well, we are now missing our other center back that's been starting, Derek Williams. So. Yeah, we're down to 2 deputies in Luis Abram, who was more of the starter last season at the end of the 2023 year, but ultimately he did lose out to Williams for the starting berth. So these 2 guys who don't speak the same language, Noah Cobb is a 19-year-old. He's a homegrown. There's no chance that he learned Spanish yet, unless he's just surprising, and I, am just underrating him in his language department. But that could be interesting because those 2 have not really played together very much. So on top of that, you have another 19-year-old in Caleb Wiley at left back, and then Brooks Lennon, who's Mr. Reliable. I mean, it's just like it's a little bit pieced together and inexperienced at the end of the day, and so. Yeah, I'm worried.
Do you play center back at all, AJ?
I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a defender pretty much by trade, I would say, but not at this level. So yeah, I mean, a warm body. Yeah, I mean, they need them. They definitely need some warm bodies right now, and so I'm sure there's going to be some like short 3-day contracts that we're going to sign to bring somebody up from the 2s. But it's I shudder actually on Sunday. What's going to happen?
Soccer is a universal language, right? You don't have to speak the same language to be able to be on the same page. I actually cannot even imagine playing, especially on the back line. Mm-hmm. I think that's the one spot that you probably cannot get away with having that big of a communication gap. This is that's tough. That's really tough. Yes. Very interesting. And I will say for Union fans, or even maybe anybody else that's tuning in and checking this out, just a reminder that the problems that we may talk about on our show, for example, are not nearly as bad as the problems that you guys are talking about around Atlanta United, with literal miscommunication happening and unfolding because there's guys that are actually not speaking the same language and expected to play next to each other. That's always great. And then, as you mentioned, even the age factor of youth on the back line forced to step into such a major role. So that makes me wonder what Atlanta's going to look like in terms of tactics. Obviously, the Philadelphia Union have been trying something different, it feels like, in this early part of the season, as we know, and everybody's talking about it, cat's out of the bag. It feels like head coach Jim Curtin is on, eyes are on him. And so we've seen early in the season, he's trying different things to try to figure out the best combinations, the best rotations, the best starting 11, the best formation. It's a lot week to week that's been some minor tweaks, I should say. With that being said, although we don't know if they'll be in a traditional 4-3-3, 3-back, diamond midfield, have no idea. What do you anticipate on the side of Atlanta with all of these question marks and injuries and next player up mentality that's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
What at least can you guarantee that we should see from the tactics of how Atlanta likes to play?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be a 4-2-3-1 shape in terms of how they set out, in terms of how the formations look kind of within phases of the game. It will probably change as the adjustments needs to happen. But I think in terms of how we will set out to play, I mean, it's at home. We're going to try to possess the ball. We're going to try to impose and, try to dominate. But the issue is, do we have the technicians to do that? And I don't think we do from the back line, and that's where it starts. So, yeah, it's going to be – you can't really bypass your defense per se. You can. I guess Guzan can just, go straight to the midfield and just try to avoid that altogether. But, if you guys overload midfield, which you guys do and you guys tend to do, it's going to be an issue. So, I think we really have to figure out another way of playing that's not just building out straight from the back. And it might just be absorb some pressure and hit you guys on the counter, which we're really good at this season. We are incredibly direct. We play with a lot of verticality so far. And, I think that's probably something that we might concede a little bit is we'll just let you have the ball. And, if you guys recycle it around and just very kind of harmless areas, we'll be happy to let you do that.
AJ, I want to look at this team real quick because obviously, listen, you are Atlanta United Fan TV, and I want to look a little bit as a fan here for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have been doing these previews since like 2020, and I feel like ever since then, brother, like Atlanta's had like the weirdest circumstances, whether Gabriel Heinze being a D-back or off the field shenanigans with Josef Martinez, injuries. Did you guys sell yourselves for that 2018 title? Because this stuff is unexplainable, bro.
It's an Illuminati.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty much like the upside down for us. Pretty much when 2020 happened, it was just like, okay, this is very bizarre. But I mean, I think there is a little bit of that where because the higher ups, they also left too. The people in now, we definitely have a lot more confidence in them in kind of how they will kind of bring us forward. There still is the question mark with Carlos Bocanegra, but Garth Lagerwey seems to have been kind of that calming influence to really shepherd us into future years where we're a lot more prudent, smart, more of a game plan, and something that's should bring us forward. And the past two windows have been very strong. It's still, though, we have this injury bug that just we cannot shake. And I think, as we know, in MLS, I mean, your first three DPs, okay, great. That can take you pretty far. 4 to 11 is also very, very important in terms of if your 4 through 11 is better than the rest of the league, usually you should be able to dominate most proceedings. But it's also your 12 through 18 or however many you can have on benches now. It's that, you live and die by that almost. And it's like that in most leagues, but it's so important in MLS because of all the competitions and kind of not only all the competitions, but it's pretty. Some of these competitions are not really, I would say, fruitful competitions. And so U.S. Open Cup, Leagues Cup, it's like they're kind of good for some things, but these squads that people roll out, it's just no one's really wanting to pay money to watch these most of these 11s that they roll out because it's a pretty much coach is not caring and they're just trotting out kind of players that need some minutes and all that. So it's pretty important that I think we need to have that depth that other leagues have, and that's a whole different argument.
Yes, it is. You're opening up a whole
Yes.
can of worms there because the amount of games that are being asked of these guys to play with such a small roster. I mean, we're seeing teams traveling with 15, 16 healthy bodies. It's looking like club soccer all over again, not even college, because you at least had 30 on the college roster. It feels like club soccer all over again. So I do agree with you, and that's something that easily could take us a whole hour and some change to talk through. But as we know, the reality is it still is very early this season. Teams are 6-7 games in, still trying to show what they've got. You've got the combination of the young talent that's working in, new faces, new coaches, all these changes going on, and another week to see what these two teams have. I mean, a 2:30 start. Love that it's early. Love that the sun's still going to be up for once because there's a lot of 7:30 and later and later starts. But then also a great chance because it is, even for the Union, not a far trip. That's another factor. There's been a lot of cross time zone traveling into other country traveling, a lot going on there too. So nice, easy trip down to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So what are my final questions as we wrap up here for you, AJ? I'll start with you, and then JP, you can jump in. Predictions, because why not? What are your predictions for how this game is going to go? Oh boy!
Oh boy!
Better than that.
Yep, hopefully way better than that. Microphone falling, but wow. Okay. Anyway, but yeah. So in terms of score prediction, is that what you asked before my phone? It was score prediction.
What's your final score prediction for how this is going to turn out?
So I'm going to be a little optimistic in one sense because at home we've been able to keep it a fortress for the most part, and but we face probably our toughest task so far this season at home, because on the road, that was against Columbus Crew. That was probably our toughest match of the season. But this one so far, with your positioning in the standings and your form, I think it's a 2-2 draw. I think there's a lot of goals here. And, for entertainment value for the neutrals, yeah, they get it. So.
Oh, listen, I would definitely take that. I mean, still playing at the Benz is never easy. Like, even like if it's 30,000 people, like that's still a good crowd for the Mercedes-Benz. But look, we're talking to you, AJ. Obviously, like the injury thing is a big factor here for Atlanta, and the Union just came off probably as a unit its best game as far as defense goes, especially that back line. So that really makes me feel really good. And now, we don't know. So right now, for those who are listening, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Jim will probably be talking on a Friday, so we'll find out more about Andre Blake and his status. But regardless, Renee and I have been, just gushing over Oliver Zemla. He's been looking really good as that backup goalie, so that really makes me feel good. But the real question will be, can this attack stay hot? They scored goals over these past couple games. They looked like they're getting into rhythm here. So that'll be the test here. And as we all know, playing in the Benz and that surface, things move fast. So maybe that'll bode well for them. So I like the Union here. I'll be honest with you, just simply because if Atlanta had the big guns, Yakimukas in there, you guys are missing Silva as well, right, AJ?
Silva may or may not play. He might. He's day to day.
Regardless, I still like our chances here. I'll go 3-2. I still think Atlanta scores 2, but I think the Union third, and they will walk away with 3 points. And right now, they're hot. They're one of the hottest teams, and we'll see if they can keep that up here this weekend.
Dang it! Maybe I should have went first. You guys are saying a lot of the things that I was thinking, and I don't want to sound like I'm just repeating you, because I find myself every week saying, I don't know, the game can go 3-0, 0-0, 1-0, anybody can win, and that's how I feel again this week. I do actually finally have more confidence, optimism in the Philadelphia Union going this weekend, though. So I'm gonna just to give something different, because actually mine was 3-2 also. I'm gonna say the Union are gonna win 3-1. I could see it being a close game, and I think the Union are going to open things up with that extra insurance goal as Atlanta United chasing to, trying to tie things up. So not to be super, super specific, but I feel like some of the consistency and the way the Union have been playing will be able to help translate into winning Sunday. So we'll see. We shall see.
We shall see. Indeed.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you so much, AJ, for taking time to join us and chat with us on the show. You're doing a fantastic job. As JP has mentioned, that you guys obviously go way back, and even just you within your work going, looking back on how you've consistently been able to cover the team So you guys can check out AJ's work. You share your work, AJ. I'm not going to do it for you. I was going to give your handles, but I'm going to let you promote yourself. Let people know where you can follow and tune in and check out all your great coverage and work that you're doing.
Absolutely awesome. I appreciate that. And yeah, very appreciate the kind words. But it's ATL UTD Fan TV on most platforms and Atlanta United Fan TV spelled out on YouTube and also Instagram. But find us everywhere. TikTok, X, wherever else, Snapchat as well. Yeah, it's all still there. So check us out everywhere, and we appreciate every bit of love.
The best in Atlanta United coverage. I must add that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so I love that. Well, we'll see just how great your coverage and your predictions are, at least in terms of how you think the score is going to pan out. Either way, we've got this looking like it should be a close, exciting game for that 2:30 start again. Sunday, fun day, going down in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Philadelphia Union, Atlanta United, two of the top teams right now in standings. Although again, there's a lot of teams tied in that number 1, 2, and 3 spot. So looking forward to seeing that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for taking time to listen to this preview for the matchup on Sunday. We'll be back next week with our live show. Monday, we'll be back at 2 p.m. live Eastern time, where you guys can tune in to PHLY Union Podcast. For AJ, wrong side. AJ, JP, and myself, Renee, have a great rest of your week. Go Union. Let's get some great soccer this weekend, most importantly, and we'll see you guys next time.
Dude. Bye.